I'm Kate Andrews, and here's a look at what is going on this week in the news. And we begin from around the world. After 17 hours of negotiations in Vienna, the world superpowers came to an agreement over a trade deal with Iran. Catholic News Service breaks it down.
The agreement reached by Iran and 6 world powers is aimed at blocking the country's development of nuclear weapons in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. The deal plans to cap Iran's stockpile of nuclear fuel and to significantly reduce the number of centrifuges used to enrich uranium, as well as the amount of plutonium produced by an Iranian reactor. At the same time, access to Iran's nuclear sites for UN inspectors will be increased, also allowing them to visit military sites. The UN-imposed arms embargo against the country will remain in force for 5 years, while the restrictions on rocket technology exchange will be kept for 8 years.
Of course, not everyone is completely pleased with the agreement. We have just a few reactions from world politicians.
I warmly welcome the historic agreement and congratulate the P5+1 and Iran for reaching this agreement in Vienna today. This is a testament to the value of dialogue.
The fact is that the agreement we've reached, fully implemented, will bring insight and accountability to Iran's nuclear program, not for a small number of years, but for the lifetime of that program. This is the good deal that we have sought.
And Israel is not bound by this deal with Iran because Iran continues to seek our destruction. We will always defend ourselves.
Billions of dollars in sanctions relief while paving the way for a nuclear Iran. And this isn't about Democrats or Republicans. It's not a partisan issue at all. It's about right versus wrong. And we're going to do everything we can to get to the details. And if, in fact, it's as bad a deal as I think it is at this moment, we'll do everything we can to stop it.
As Iran takes steps to implement this deal, it will receive relief from the sanctions that we put in place because of Iran's nuclear program, both America's own sanctions and sanctions imposed by the United Nations Security Council. This relief will be phased in. Iran must complete key nuclear steps before it begins to receive new sanctions relief. And over the course of the next decade, Iran must abide by the deal before additional sanctions are lifted, including 5 years for restrictions related to arms and 8 years for restrictions related to ballistic missiles. All of this will be memorialized and endorsed in a new United Nations Security Council resolution. And if Iran violates the deal, all these sanctions will snap back into place. So there's a very clear incentive for Iran to follow through, and there are very real consequences for a violation.
Staying with news from around the world, months after the earthquake in Nepal, recovery work is still ongoing, and now monsoon rains are halting all efforts. Father Pius Perumana is the director of Caritas Nepal. He said they had planned to complete the first phase of relief work by the end of June. Now it has been extended to August. Caroline Brennan from the Humanitarian Response Department of the U.S. Bishop's Catholic Relief Service told CNS that they are using helicopters to get supplies to remote areas. However, weight restrictions on the helicopters mean multiple trips per day, dependent on good weather. The April 25th earthquake claimed more than 8,800 lives. It destroyed more than 600,000 houses and damaged an additional 300,000. Ending on a lighter note in news from the Vatican. There is no doubt that Pope Francis is a popular man. Millions flock to his masses and general audiences, but he also has a large social media following. Rome Reports has a look at the Pontiff's Twitter account.
Pope Francis's trip to Latin America drew headlines throughout the globe, and it seems like that attention in the press has translated to influence in other places. The Pope's Twitter accounts now have more than 22 million followers. During the trip, he gained nearly 30,000 followers per day, which is about 50% more than he normally does. U.S. President Barack Obama is the only world leader with more followers. He has just over 60 million. India's president is in third place, and he has fewer followers than Pope Francis's Spanish account alone. There are accounts in Spanish, English, French, German, Latin, Italian, Polish, Arabic, and Portuguese. While the Pope doesn't have the most followers on Twitter, he is considered the most influential person on the social network. It was reported earlier this year that the Pope receives an average of about 9,000 retweets per tweet. By comparison, Obama gets just 1,000. Although you won't find Pope Francis on an iPhone writing his own tweets, he does approve of the messages that go out. They usually come from his homilies, speeches, or official documents. The account was launched on December 12, 2012, under Pope Benedict XVI, a few months before Cardinal Bergoglio became Pope Francis.
Well, that is all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kate Andrews. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.